I was the token Black kid growing up. And so it was a lot of me feeling like I didn't fit in. So it was sort
Mhm.
of like living, this like great childhood life, but then also like deep down, sort of not feeling really comfortable with myself, just feeling a bit of like sometimes an outcast and not really sure trying to figure out basically where I fit in the town. And
Yeah.
for some, I guess, some background, I was actually born in Baltimore. And
Okay.
I was one of plenty of people of color. And so when I moved to Connecticut when I was 5, it was a huge culture shock for me simply
Mhm.
because the only white people I had ever met were my kindergarten teachers, flat out. And so when I went and it was like, I'm the only person of color. Me and my family are like one of the only Black families in town who are of color, let
Mm.
alone Black. It definitely was a shock for me transitioning.
Do you think that that was something that you sort of understood at that age? Or do you think kind of growing a bit older, you look back and you go like, no, this is actually how I felt and what I was really dealing with back in those days?
That's such a great question. I think I understood what was happening. Like, oh, this is a
Yeah.
different state. These are different people. That this is how it is here. But
Mm.
then also, as an adult, I look back and wish that my parents had helped me for that transition, like getting me into therapy or helping me to maybe get into programs where I did see people like myself. Because when you just have that stark contrast, you just sort of, it's either you dive into it, or you just sort of shell up and like don't know what to do with yourself. And I was definitely the shelling up type of person.
Do you feel like there was sort of a moment when you look back that goes like that was a defining moment for you to start to look at things a bit differently when you did transition over there? And like you said, I think that one of the things is probably the hardest thing is talking to your family about it because you probably didn't know necessarily how to be able to verbalize everything that was going on, all the changes, and being so young, being
Yeah.
5 years old and being put into a whole different culture shock. I think your mindset was probably like, whoa, what's I don't even, I guess this is what life is now, and I have to just move forward from it. And you aren't really taught that at such a young age, or know the vocabulary as to how to necessarily indulge that in a conversation. So
Right.
for you to even be able to look back, I mean, you should applaud yourself and be like, wow, for myself to be put into that situation and the way that I handled it is a beautiful, beautiful way.
Thank you. I I guess I could applaud myself. I mean, I survived. I was a depressed kid. I mean, that's a that's an achievement in
It
itself.
is
Um,
though.
yes.
I mean,
I think growing up, I definitely did not know how to verbalize it. I thought maybe I
mm,
was overreacting or even thinking too hard because I am a person who does think too hard. But and it was always very hard for me to sort of express those feelings with my parents because in their head, them being from the Bronx and Baltimore, success to them looks like being able to live in a nice middle class suburban neighborhood and
mm.
have be safe and not worry about food on the table or the electricity bill or stuff like that. So for them, I don't think they really understood that outside of tangible um, things to make you feel comfortable and comforted. There was also that emotional aspect. And because I was such an introverted, very energetic, but introverted kid, I really didn't know how to share that with others. I didn't know where to turn. I couldn't really be to my friends because, again, they didn't really understand that experience. But then also to my family because they're thinking, hey, we're living the good life simply because,
Yeah.
we made it. Hey. And
Yeah.
then uh, it was hard to find someone to confide into. So I literally folded into myself. I would write in my diary. I still have all my diaries as a kid. And
Oh,
you
I
can
love
just
that.
sometimes I'll take a peek at it and I will
Mm,
look back and read some of the words I wrote
yeah.
when I was like 12, 13. And you can just hear how much I was hurting, but I
Whew.
didn't know who to share it with. So it was just all on me.